Hi, this is Mrs. Clark, and welcome to my video about solving systems by elimination. This is going to be the first type of elimination where you only need to add. So we're going to see that we have two equations in standard form. Standard form is ax plus by equals c. So that is when x and y are both on the same side of the equation and the number is by itself on the right side. So if you'll notice, both of these examples are in that form. We're no longer in slope-intercept form, so we're going to use elimination in this case because it's going to make it so much simpler. So what we need to do first is we need to look at the x's and the y's, and we need to look for a pair of x's or y's that are the same variable but have opposite signs. So we're also looking for things that have the same number. So here's an acronym to help you remember that. SNOWS. Same number, opposite signs. So as we look through our two equations, we see in the first equation we have 2x and negative 5x. Different numbers, even though we have a positive and a negative, the numbers aren't the same. But when I go to y, I have a 5 and a 5, so same number, but I have negative 5 here and positive 5 there. So that's SNOWS. So I'm looking for SNOWS when I'm trying to eliminate. So let me show you how we do that. We draw a big line underneath here. We're going to add these two equations together. So I'm going to put a big plus sign. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add our x's. So we're going to have 2x plus negative 5x. So 2 plus negative 5 is going to give me negative 3x when I add those together. Next, negative 5y plus positive 5y. A negative plus a positive, if they're the same number, is 0. So I'm going to cross that out. I'm going to eliminate that eliminate that y. So then I'll have my equal sign, and now I have to do 15 plus negative 30, which is negative 15. So if you'll notice, by adding the two equations together, I was able to eliminate one of the variables. So now I have this super simple equation, negative 3x equals negative 15, and I can solve that for x. So if I divide by 3 on both sides, I will get x equals positive 5. And if you remember correctly, our solution is x comma y, and so far I have the x, which is 5. So now I need to find the y. So my elimination got me a simple equation with one variable that I can solve, and now I'm going to use that answer, substitute it in to either of the equations to get my y, so I'll have my ordered pair. I can choose either equation to substitute it into. Usually I just use the first one, so if I do that, I'll write 2x minus 5y equals 15. Now I'm going to substitute in my 5 for x here, so 2 parentheses 5 minus 5y equals 15. Now I need to solve this using inverse operations to figure out what y is. So here, I remember 2 parentheses 5 is 2 times 5, which is 10, minus 5y equals 15. Now continue with my inverse operations. To get the 10 away from this y, it's a positive 10, so I have to subtract 10 on both sides. So I get negative 5y equals positive 5. Now I'm going to divide by negative 5 to get the y by itself to isolate that variable. Y is going to equal 5 divided by negative 5, which is negative 1. So I'm going to put that into my ordered pair, and there is my solution to this system. So when I have both of the equations in standard form, I can use elimination to help me solve it. Now let's go ahead and do the second one. Okay, so for the second one, let's again look for this SNOWS. We're looking for same number, opposite signs. So if I look at the x's, I have negative 10, positive 10. So those are same number, opposite signs. If I go to add these two equations together, when I go to add negative 10 and positive 10, they're going to cancel out. So I'm going to eliminate the x's. Then I'm going to go to the y's. 4y plus negative 7y is negative 3y. 4 plus negative 7 is negative 3. Bring down my equals. 14 plus negative 2 is 12. And now I have this simple equation. I can divide both sides by negative 3 to get the y by itself. Y is going to equal negative 4. So if I think of my solution, I'm halfway there. I've got my y value as negative 4, and now I need to find my x. So I'm going to take this answer and substitute it in to either of the equations. This time I can use the bottom one. 10x minus 7y equals negative 2. So I'm going to go ahead and put that negative 4 in where this y is. I'm going to substitute it in with a parenthesis so that I don't forget to multiply, equals negative 2. So now I'm going to multiply negative 7 times negative 4. So I'm going to have 10x plus 28, because a negative times a negative is a positive, equals negative 2. Now to solve for this x, I need to use my inverse operations. So plus 28 means I'm going to subtract 28. 10x is going to equal negative 30. Negative 2 minus 28 is negative 30. I'm going to divide by 10 on both sides to solve for x. X is going to equal negative 3. And I'm going to write that into my solution. And there is my answer for this system. So if you feel like you have it at this point, why don't you try to do number 3 and 4? And if you want, you can check back afterward to make sure you did it correctly. If you feel like you need one more done with you, go ahead and do number 3 with me, and then maybe pause and try number 4. Okay, and we're back. So here we go with number 3. Looking for same number, opposite sign. Negative 2x, positive 2x. Those are going to be same number, 2 and 2, negative and positive. So those are going to eliminate out. So I'm going to add these two equations together. My x's are going to eliminate because that makes 0x. Negative 5y plus another negative y. Now remember, this negative y is really a negative 1y. So it's negative 5 plus negative 1, which is negative 6y, equals negative 25 plus 7, which is going to be negative 18. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 6. Y equals positive 3. So in my solution, I've got the y variable already. Now I need to get the x. So I'm going to substitute it into either one. Let's try that first one. Negative 2x minus 5y equals negative 25. Negative 2x minus 5, substitute in the 3, parentheses 3, equals negative 25. Negative 2x minus 15, 5 times 3 is 15, equals negative 25. I'm going to add 15 on both sides. Negative 2x equals negative 10. Divide both sides by negative 2. X equals 5. And there's my solution, 5, 3. Now I know it feels like I'm going pretty quickly when I'm doing these, but these equations should get easier and easier for you to solve the more and more you do them. So if you feel like you're going a little bit slow, just keep in mind that the more practice that you do, the faster you'll get at these equations, because you'll be able to look at an equation and recognize what to do right away. So the more practice you get, the easier it will get. So go ahead and pause here if you haven't had a chance to try number 4. I really want you to try it on your own. It's a little bit tricky, but give it a start and see if you can get going. Okay, so number 4, notice this x doesn't have a number in front of it, so I'm going to put a 1 in front of it. And then this y also doesn't have a number, it just has a negative sign. So I've got positive 1x and a negative 1y. When I come down here, I've got a negative 1x and a negative 3y. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this system so it can be a little clearer. I've got 1x minus 1y equals 15. And you want to be careful when you're rewriting to make sure you don't miss a negative. Second equation, I have negative 1x minus 3y equals 5. Now I can clearly see that they're lined up more clearly. I can see that I have snows. I have the same number, 1 and 1, positive 1 and negative 1, on both the x's. So when I go to add these two together, my x's are going to eliminate. So negative 1y plus negative 3y is going to be negative 4y. 15 plus 5 is going to be 20. We're going to divide both sides by negative 4. Y is going to equal negative 5. And I'm going to substitute that back in to get x. So my first equation, x minus y equals 15. So I'm going to do x minus my y, which was negative 5, equals 15. It's super important that you get this parenthesis here so that you don't forget a negative. Because I have to do this as like a negative 1 times a negative 5, which is a positive 5. So this becomes x plus 5 equals 15. That can really mess up your answer. So now I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. x is going to equal 10, and my solution is going to be 10 comma negative 5. And so there we go. Anytime you want to check your answers, you can go ahead and plug the x and the y into the equation and see if it works out to 15. Plug the x and y in down here, see if it works out to 5. You can do that with any of these. 5 and 3, plug in x and y, see if it comes out to negative 25, and make sure in this one it also comes out to 7. So it should work in both equations if it is the true solution. So hope that video was helpful. Go ahead and rewatch anything that you find confusing or ask me any questions. And if you're ready, you can come up and get practice 1. And after that, you'll be learning how to do the next type of elimination. Thanks for watching.